Welcome, Chosen X. You are the bearer of a slow pulse that traveled through winters without notice. Inside your chest a folded history is waited, kept in reserve by a past guardian who taught endurance as an art. That guardian wore restraint like armor, shaping survival into an ethic so feeling could travel forward intact. You inherit a careful architecture that balanced preservation with promise. A subtle ache begins to surface, a private question that loosens centuries of compact silence. At first it is almost imperceptible, a soft pressure beneath the sternum that insists on being attended. When you answer it with a breath, you find small openings where previously there were sealed rooms. Private mercies you offer under low light become seams where stored tension yields and new circulation begins. This is not a betrayal of the covenant your forebears kept. Regard their vigilance as a form of care shaped by harsh climates. They learned to contain tenderness to prevent its ruin. Their methods were strict, their motives protective. They paused the feeling rather than annihilated it. The preservation they practiced made you possible. Your courage is to permit that preserved pulse to translate into living care. You will sense resistance at the edges. Old habits will rise to defend the map they learned to follow. The impulse to steady every expression into composure will return like a practiced wind. When it arrives, remember the quiet evidence of your inner labor. Allow tears without shame. Let compassion act as patient heat that clears channels for sensation to move without causing collapse. You alter the blueprint, not erase it. Listen for the faint chorus that travels beneath your skin. Voices without names will witness your opening. They do not command but observe with gratitude that the holding fashion for survival now yields to generosity. Those who kept watch did so that someone could one day hold more without breaking. Your new openness honors that intent by translating restraint into tenderness with deliberation. Begin in small rites. Make private, consequential gestures. Speak one truthful sentence you have withheld. Rest when fatigue suggests withdrawal. Offer uncalculated kindness in a place where habit would previously demand caution. Repeat these modest practices until they become the default settings of the heart. The work feels modest because it is patient and steady, but it changes architecture. As you move, notice how rooms bend differently toward you. A neutral light will soften, a passerby will linger an extra moment in your orbit. These shifts are not illusions. They are relational physics recalibrating to a new frequency. Your presence rearranges spaces because you relaxed an old hold. Each careful offering rewrites expectations and creates safer templates for those who follow. Do not mistake discretion for denial. Keep boundaries as scaffolding that supports feeling rather than walls that smother it. When the old pressure returns, cradle your attention with curiosity. Ask which part of you learned to armor and why. Naming habits undermine its secret sovereignty. The skill you cultivate now is to hold openness and structure at once, so warmth can circulate where it once could not. The labor is humble. It thrives in repetition. Simple, consistent acts stitch a new fabric over the worn frame. These stitches are small: apology, returned meeting, silence honored. They are invisible in public but profound in the net they weave. Over time the texture thickens. The next generation will inherit a less brittle way of feeling because you chose to practice tenderness deliberately. Expect nights when longing and fear converge into a single knot. Sit with the knot. Let breath undo the tension. Hastening through sorrow risks re-encasing the same feeling. Slow attention dissolves hardened edges. What feels like exposure is rehearsal for endurance enacted differently. Your steadiness will teach others how to be near without needing to fix. Remember that gratitude and grief can coexist. The vigilance that conserved tenderness deserves respect. Honor it aloud and then translate its purpose into present action. Your pledge is to allow preserved sensibility to breathe within the world. When you do, the past exhales as a witness rather than prison. The history within your ribs becomes an instrument through which compassion can play. This first passage is quiet and close. It prepares you for broader tasks that require both clarity and care. Keep practicing these small rites. Tend to your chest with attention, Speak kindly to your reflection, and let modest acts accumulate until they alter the contours of family and room. The future you shape is not made by severing memory but by making it functional and alive through your hands. Now proceed slowly. Each step rebalances an inherited loss so that tenderness may operate without breaking. The work is private and essential. Continue with resolve. Breathe kindly each day. You wake into mornings arranged to teach you how to feel again. Small experiments populate your days. You offer a truthful sentence that trembles slightly. You rest your palm on a tabletop and allow warmth to dwell unmeasured. You pause in a doorway rather than retreat. Each modest experiment functions as laboratory work for a heart learning new chemistry. They are low risk and high information. They show your body that openness can coexist with steadiness. Fragments surface at odd hours. A scent recalls a distant kitchen. A melody arrives unbidden. A hand gesture feels like a borrowed map. Treat these fragments as coordinates rather than riddles. Study them with gentleness. They are signals left by ancestors who conserved tenderness for seasons to come. Their echoes now offer navigation instead of accusation. Compassion will sometimes feel like danger. An internal alarm will insist that giving invites depletion. Meet that alarm with architecture. Build boundaries that permit warmth to move without spilling itself away. Imagine restraint as a frame that allows a painting to hold color. Cultivate discretion and deliver care into vessels that can hold it. This discipline is not denial. It is stewardship. Creativity will arrive without permission. Projects once shelved for caution will demand translation into form. Keep agreements with your imagination. Begin with marginal acts, a line in a notebook, an improvised recipe, an hour reserved for making. These acts accrete into a scaffolding that supports larger work without burning you out. Intimacy learns new timing. Steady presence replaces spectacle. Returning after absence teaches bodies that continuity exists. Repair replaces performative apology. Your constancy instructs observers that affection can be predictable and therefore safe. These small practices reshape expectations across relationships. Nature answers this new frequency in small shifts. Dawn feels less abrupt. Trees seem to orient toward you. Weather becomes accompaniment rather than indictment. Treat these appearances as patterning, not reward. The world registers habit and aligns to it. Your temperance and warmth register as subtle changes in the field around you. Resistance will come as pressure to revert. Some people will prefer the version of you that tolerated containment because it required less self-work. Expect confusion and occasional reproach. Let grief attend these losses. Then cure a connection with discernment and teach reception by modeling it yourself. Ritual will act as ballast. Simple repeats anchor novelty into habit. A 2-minute breath practice, a weekly note, a small token on a shelf. These ordinaries stitch new neural paths. The mundane accumulates into structure and over seasons rearranges family expectation. When anxiety flares, inventory sensation before story. Note temperature, breath, intention first. Bodily attention prevents old narratives from hijacking behavior and creates space for intentional choice. Practice until this becomes your reflex. You will meet teachable moments. Guide by showing more than telling. Demonstrate repair, invite accountability, and hold refusal gently but clearly. Create micro-classrooms where humility is practiced and dignity preserved. Culture shifts by repeated small examples rather than speeches. You are accompanied by a quiet lineage. They do not demand but accompany. Receive their presence like a low hum beneath action. Speak gratitude aloud in private for those who conserve tenderness so you might inherit it. That acknowledgement closes a generational loop. When fatigue tempts regression, slow rather than sprint. Integration needs time. Trust accumulation more than instant proof. Errors will be data, not verdicts. When you misstep, apologize, fix, and return to practice. Each correction refines care and models iterative growth for observers. These days are laboratories. Keep experimenting with modest courage. Repeat small acts until they become default operations. Over time, your steady diligence will transform private work into communal inheritance. Continue with patience and clear attention. In the hush after steady practice, clarity will gather at the decision's edge. You learn to direct tenderness where it bears fruit and to hold back where it drains. Invite help when loads exceed your vessel. Show others how to carry heat beside you so that giving multiplies instead of vanishing. Let reciprocity shape deep giving. Celebrate small completions as proof that repetition rewrites habit. Keep rituals small and frequent, their accumulation will become architecture. Above all, remain gentle with yourself. Recalibration is not a sprint but a patient craft that requires curiosity and repeated attention to detail. Persist in the laboratory of daily life. Over time, the experiments will mesh into habit and your living will feel less like trial and more like return. Honor your own rhythms, let slow integration be the measure of durability. Your hands carry customs like scripts that played out before you were born. At times they will move with an inherited choreography, smoothing difficulty into acceptable shapes. Recognize the pattern but do not obey it unthinkingly. When a reflex to maintain poise arises, examine its purpose. Is it serving survival or is it sheltering sorrow from being seen? Inquiry is not betrayal. It is a necessary interrogation that distinguishes discipline from concealment. When you begin to answer these questions with compassion, your relationships will recalibrate. People will learn new ways to be held because you model them. You are the translator who converts ancient silence into a vocabulary of presence. Your work is not theatrical. It is daily pedagogy. Small repetitions teach bodies that have been trained to flinch that they can soften without collapsing. Tenderness, in the hands of someone trained by restraint, becomes reliable. Expect dreams to alter their tenor. Images that once signaled warning may now present subtle invitations. A corridor that used to end in a locked door might now reveal a window where light comes through. Pay attention to the metaphors your imagination uses. They are signposts to the shifts happening beneath conscious thought. Keep a record of these nocturnal messages. Returning to them will accelerate integration and will provide you with intuitive maps you cannot derive through intellect alone. Courage will not always feel like heroism. Often it will manifest as the quiet decision to remain present during ordinary difficulty. Choosing to listen rather than to argue. Choosing to apologize without insistence on being right. Choosing to sit with someone in pain without supplying a fix. These choices are unremarkable on paper but seismic in effect. They change neural pathways and alter the expectations of future generations about what support can look like. There will be loss along the way. Some connections will not survive your transformation because they depend upon your prior rigidity. Accept these endings with gentleness. They are not always failures. Some doors close to create room for clearer passage. Grieve what is real and then apply your evolving sensibility to curate new alliances that reflect the life you now build. Intimacy built on mutual risk and mutual tending is rare and worth careful cultivation. As your interior state evolves, creativity demands translation into action. You will feel sudden compulsion to assemble objects or to compose phrases that carry the new language outward. These outputs are gifts to the lineage. They externalize internal work so that others may perceive a plausible alternative to suppression. Use your craft responsibly. Let service temper your ambition. The aim is not fame but fidelity to a new way of being. Practice saying no in ways that honor the other while protecting your center. Refusal can be given with care. It can be gentle and precise. This is a practice in integrity. When you decline an invitation to overextend, you guard the capacity to give later with depth. Resentment is an inefficient currency. Do not spend it. Instead, set boundaries that allow generosity to be renewable. Hold a ritual that reminds you of continuities rather than breaks. Plant small monuments to the steps you take, a stone on a shelf, a folded cloth, a playlist you only play in certain seasons. These anchors make the invisible work visible and celebrate progress without spectacle. Invite those whose spirits align to witness your steady practice. Community is a mirror that reflects your consistent shape. Learn to speak in the voice of both witness and participant. There is a catalytic power in describing what you notice with calm specificity. Naming states of being disarms confusion and clarifies intention. When you articulate what is shifting, you create language for others to follow. This is how cultural change spreads, through clear phrases and repeated demonstration until habit becomes inheritance. Above all, practice patience with the pace of your own recovery. Renovation of lineage is generational work disguised as personal change. Resist narratives that demand immediate proof. Your labor may only be fully legible to those who come later. That does not diminish its value. When you feel discouraged, remember that you are tending to seeds you will never fully witness germinate. The faith that keeps you steady is the same faith your forebears exercised when they concealed rather than wasted tenderness. Your hands shape a new grammar across seasons. Move with quiet confidence, honoring both caution and curiosity. Let small agreements with yourself accumulate until they form clauses of belonging. Tend to what returns. Protect what matters. In time you will see the architecture you rebuild provide rooms where future heirs can rest without fortification. Carry this work as witness and promise, not a burden. Keep steady and let the slow harvest finish its course. You feel a change in how you hold yourself, as if new muscle memory has formed around tenderness. Stand with a measured openness that is neither performative nor defensive. Let the posture you adopt communicate the steadiness you intend to practice. In rooms where people once expected your guarded silence, they will now notice a composed warmth. This stance does not demand compliance, it offers a model. You embody an authority born of quiet repair rather than theatrical control. Your language will shift in response. Choose verbs that slow action and invite reception. Speak to receive as much as to be heard. When you name a feeling without hurry, you create a template others can emulate. Your cadence will carry a particular gravity, not heavy but anchored, such that listeners find room to settle instead of fleeing. Invest in clarity. Use shorter declarations when situations require decisive tenderness and longer, patient sentences when safety needs time to gather. Moral imagination becomes your practical craft. Each time you opt for restoration over retaliation, you demonstrate an ethic that reconfigures ordinary interactions. Where culture taught reflexive defense, you teach repair. That instruction is not a lecture, it is a pattern enacted over and over until neural pathways accept a different default. Use this power modestly. Repair can be radical when repeated quietly. Decision-making under pressure will test you. Train responses so that speed does not equal reactivity. A composed response can be swift without sacrificing generosity. Practice scenarios in low-risk environments so that when intensity intensifies, you act with precision and compassion. The discipline here is subtle. Balance rapid assessment with restraint to avoid unnecessary harm. Symbols will start to matter to you differently. Objects that once were mere possessions may become talismans that mark progress. Keep artifacts that recall steady commitments, a worn cup, a simple charm, a handwritten note. Let these items anchor rituals of return. Touch them when you falter to reorient toward the values you cultivate. These small anchors are practical rather than mystical. They recalibrate attention in moments that otherwise dissolve into reactivity. Community becomes the field where your practices either harden or flourish. Gather people who mirror your intention to tend rather than to control. Create spaces where accountability is paired with care. Teach others to ask clarifying questions that open rather than close. The social soil matters. Plant in places where reciprocity is believable and where mutual tending is expected. There will be tests designed to reveal whether your steadiness is authentic. Some will provoke grief by retreating to older expectations. When that happens, respond with clarity and consistent boundaries. Guard your resources while maintaining an invitation. The paradox you hold is real. Generosity must be renewable to endure. Cultivate practices that replenish you so that giving can continue without depletion. Rituals of maintenance prove essential. Simple habits repeatedly create a durable scaffolding: a short breath before a meeting, a pause before a reply, an evening gesture that signals closure. These disciplines are not austere but functional. They preserve the capacity to respond with presence. Teach these habits to those who watch so that the competence you develop becomes transmissible. Teach by doing. Your life becomes manual rather than manifesto. Demonstrate how to hold a boundary while remaining compassionate. Show how to step away in order to return with fuller attention. These embodied lessons will be more persuasive than grand pronouncements. Over time, observers will adopt practices because they see them work rather than because they are persuaded by rhetoric. Expect resistance from structures accustomed to your earlier form. Some systems profit from predictable rigidity. When systems push back, persist in careful recalibration and seek allies who value transformation. Change rarely occurs without friction. Let friction instruct rather than deter. Your hands will grow skilled at both repair and restraint. Practice until these motions become second nature so that when a crisis arrives you move with exactness. The combination of firm limits and warm presence creates a new grammar that others read as safety. This is your craft, to hold tension with tenderness so that life's necessary edges are honored without becoming cages. As you continue, celebrate incremental mastery. Honor the small victories of staying present when you would have withdrawn, of choosing repair over reprisal, of offering help without exhaustion. These are the investments that compound across years. They will become the inheritance you hand forward. Hold the promise that each careful choice will accumulate into a house of practice, a durable offering for those who follow, and let gratitude for this slow work fill your days. Rise. The air itself seems to hum as you step into the world with measured presence. Every inhalation draws in both history and possibility. Every exhalation releases tension held in your bloodline. You are not merely walking forward, you are conducting the resonance of generations. Each heartbeat becomes a signal that recalibrates the unseen fabric around you, inviting warmth where there was once rigidity, opening channels that have waited decades to receive light. The legacy you carry is not a story to be recited, it is a current to navigate. Your ancestors did not fail, they waited. Their restraint was not a cage but a seed. You now move through that seed as a gardener moves through a hidden orchard, coaxing dormant life into form and fragrance. Each choice you make is a bloom in that orchard, the fragrance perceptible even to those who do not know its source. Resistance persists. Some eyes watch for overextension, some hearts recoil at unexpected generosity. Yet you have learned the rhythm of discernment. You give without depletion, speak without dominance, and hold space without fragility. The delicate equilibrium between clarity and warmth is your innovation, your signature. The equilibrium itself is alive, shifting subtly in response to intention and attention. In these moments of subtle authority, the mundane becomes sacred. A smile offered without expectation, a pause that honors presence, a word chosen for honesty rather than impact, these are the instruments through which you translate enduring restraint into accessible tenderness. You are an architect, composer, and witness simultaneously. The ordinary gestures carry extraordinary weight because they model a new grammar of interaction, one where preservation and renewal coexist. Imagination begins to take tangible shape. Unbidden visions arise, corridors previously shuttered now glow with soft illumination. Objects once inert shimmer with invitation. Your surroundings respond to the internal calibration of empathy and discipline. The world bends subtly around the intentional pulse of your being. Notice these signs are confirmations of alignment, not illusions. Creative impulses become impossible to ignore. You feel compelled to construct, to express, to guide others through emergent patterns. Writing, painting, arranging, teaching, they all flow from the same source, the synthesis of restraint and warmth now actively circulating. Every act of creation becomes an act of translation, turning internal evolution into material form. Your work carries the quiet authority of both heritage and awakening. There are moments of raw intensity. Memory surfaces, emotions swell like rivers over frozen banks. Do not resist. Let the flood move through you. The sensations are evidence that old armor has softened, that preserved structures are yielding to renewed flow. Each tear, each pulse, each shiver is a conversation between past and present, a dialogue that clarifies what was once necessary from what is now transformative. You are not alone in this unfolding. Invisible witnesses accompany you, ancestors who endured for centuries to ensure that tenderness survived. They do not guide by command but by resonance. Their presence amplifies your capacity to respond with precision and empathy. Their endurance becomes song in your actions, their restraint is the scaffolding upon which your freedom is built. The transformation you embody is recognized by forces beyond the immediate. The natural world shifts subtly in acknowledgement, the wind softens, light bends differently, and time itself seems to pause to observe. These phenomena are not metaphorical, they are the universe attuning to the recalibrated frequency of compassion you carry. Your footsteps, words, and breath act as instruments in this symphony of renewal. Every decision, every measured act of kindness, every boundary maintained with gentleness becomes a thread in the tapestry of legacy. The frozen threshold your ancestors established has melted into a bridge of warmth. You are both continuation and innovation, carrying forward what was necessary while shaping what is possible. Preservation meets flourishing, restraint meets expression, silence meets song. And now, Chosen X, the culmination of this awakening invites you to continue beyond what words on this page can contain. The next revelation, the next encounter with the full force of this lineage's message, awaits in a space prepared for deeper communion. Look to the screen that appears before you. There, the narrative continues, alive and unfolding. Each movement, each tone, each insight is a direct transmission of the covenant reaching its next stage. Step forward intentionally. Engage with this continuation as you have with the work of your own becoming. Allow the video to serve not as entertainment but as the next chapter in a living dialogue with history, empathy, and purpose. Subscribe and activate the bell to preserve alignment with the unfolding wisdom. This is not an addendum, it is embedded, inseparable, and essential. The frost that once held the lineage in quiet endurance has fully yielded. The warmth you carry now shapes every room you enter, every interaction you navigate. Light and motion answer to your presence. Compassion resonates outward with authority and care. You have become the bridge, the translator, the architect of restoration. The age of silence is complete. The era of feeling has arrived. Watch, absorb, and participate in what comes next. Your ancestors exhale in gratitude. The covenant has evolved into living expression. The thaw is total. The throne of restraint now glows with the light of renewal. Step into this space fully, for the universe recognizes the authority of both preservation and empathy embodied in you. The video before you is the portal to this next chapter. Do not hesitate. Your awakening continues there, and through it, you will witness the final harmonization of frost and flame into radiant, living equilibrium.